So once again, this is the first of the data literacy series for CETL for the spring 24 semester. The goal of this series is to encourage faculty, but other folks around the college to think about how they can use data here at Reynolds to be more effective in their different processes that they are a part of at Reynolds Community College. Today, I am proud to introduce my colleague, David Stern. David is going to speak about his journey in becoming a data person. And so, David, I'm going to let you take it from here.
Thank you, Karen. And yes, I am one of those statistical folks. I don't do numbers. I work in the humanities. That's my approach. I teach public speaking from a rhetorical and critical perspective. And when Dr. Dwyer asked me to serve on the data team, I was actually kind of confused. At first, I didn't know what I was supposed to contribute. It's great to see Kara here. Honestly, that was why I joined the data team. I agreed to join, was because Kara, I have heard, is a lot of fun to work with, and I've only had a couple of opportunities to work with her before this. So I agreed to join. And it was in joining the data team and agreeing to do that I was finally able to understand and learn more about data through some training I received at through ATD at last year's DREAM conference. And before I really start talking about the data journey, I just want to share one thing with you, and I see Otelia is here, and a few others who were at the conference. I'm going to brag about this at every opportunity that I have. Tamira Briley was named a DREAM Scholar, one of only 8 across the country. She's going to speak in front of 2,500 people at DREAM 24. She is an amazing woman, a fantastic student, and if she works over in the advising office in Georgiadis, if you have a chance to go over there and congratulate her, please do that. She absolutely deserves all of the attention and congratulations and the opportunity. So having gotten that out of the way, I'm like a proud parent. I was so excited about this. I want to talk to you about a little bit about how I became a data person. And for my Trekkie friends out there, you may recognize the actor. This was a very young David Stern, excited to meet Brent Spiner, who played Lieutenant Commander Data in Star Trek. I became a data person. And I really designed this workshop with my colleagues in the humanities in mind, more so than for some of you who may work with data on a more regular basis, although this is absolutely applicable for all of you. And it comes from Amelia Parnell's book, You Are a Data Person, Strategies for Using Analytics on Campus. What does this mean, data person? Parnell goes into, in this book, which incidentally, you probably have received chapters 2 and 7 as a PDF. We have electronic access to that book, the entire book, the ebook, through the library. So I would encourage you, go ahead and read this book. It's quite interesting, especially for someone who's not used to thinking about using data. Turns out I use an awful lot of data in my life. I just didn't know it. But this idea that you're a data person, Parnell breaks things down into data personalities. And that's what the exercise, the worksheet that I provided, or that CETL helped to provide, can help you to do, is to identify your data personality. It's actually, from my experience, more about your relationship your relationship with data so much as I'm not sure personality was the right word. I would have probably gone with data relationships. How do you relate to data? And to start this discussion, Parnell asked a very simple question. How have you used data to make decisions today? So what are some ways that today you used data?
And for those of you online, feel free to drop things in the chat. I'm going to convey things to David if he's not able to watch the chat. But he is able to watch the chat. So you don't have to keep up with all of it.
Great. What are some ways you use data today? I looked at the weather on my phone, on the weather app today to decide how to dress. I wasn't aware that it was going to be 80 degrees in my office when I got here, but I put on a light raincoat. I grabbed an umbrella because of the weather. It helped me decide what route to take. What are some ways you use data? Simple stuff.
So Mazar brought up making decisions about classes, especially adding 7-week 2.
Yep.
Okay, very pertinent. Kara says that she calculated the route for her morning run.
Yep, excellent. A way that I realized, again, after these workshops, that I use data a lot, I love to cook. Cooking's my hobby, and it's really one of my passions. So I am regularly checking on ingredients. Do I have enough milk? Do I have enough eggs? Do I have enough of this spice or that herb to make these recipes? What do I want to cook for dinner tonight? Do I need to stop at the grocery store on my way home? Do I need to stop at a specialty store on my way home? And how will that affect my commute? And these are all ways that we interact with data in very simple regards, very simple, straightforward, daily interactions. Parnell's framework for data identities or data personalities breaks things down into these 6 categories or 6 personality types. She talks about a data personality geared towards curiosity and inquiry, the ability to formulate good questions. What are we looking for? What information do we really need? What is this data telling us? Communication and consultation. How do you explain this data, this new information, to a variety of audiences? Do we need to share this with students? Are we sharing this with faculty? Are we sharing it with staff? Are these higher level staff who are engaged with the data on a regular basis? Or are these advisors? Are these humanities faculty or social scientists? Strategy and planning. How do we select and execute a course of action based on the data? Right? That's that piece about, okay, do I have enough ingredients and what does that mean for my ride home? Where am I going to have to stop to get the ingredients I need? How do I execute a plan of action? Research and analysis. This has to do with using those methodologies, the statistical analyses that scare the living crap out of me. They really do. Campus context. When we're talking about using data analytics on a college campus, knowledge of the issues and the people within the institution. What's going on here? An industry context. What's going on in a broader sense? Where does our institution fit within higher education, within the higher education environment here in Central Virginia? How are we, do you have that, bring that kind of expertise and awareness? And this is one of those things that really does fit. This is very recent news, and if you're in the STEM, you've probably seen this headlines at least similar to this, that due to learning loss in the pandemic and some of the issues related to remote teaching, recent high school graduates are behind on their basic math skills. This is going to impact us. If you've been following what Dr. Pando is now calling our retention work, that we were previously calling the ATD, or Achieving the Dream work, our Gateway Math course pass rate is one of the goals we're trying to work on. We're trying to improve success in Gateway Math because it's an early momentum indicator for overall success in graduation in college. So getting students into those classes early and passing those classes early is a big step towards improving graduation and retention rates. So this is part of that industry context, and then how do we adjust things here at Reynolds? And so to go back to this framework, I found that I'm not a researcher in terms of analytics. I'm not going to be the guy with the methodologies. I turn to Mel, I turn to Tim. I think I saw Tim logged on. Those are the folks I go to on our data team when it's time for the numbers to be crunched, for the graphs to be designed. What I found is I have my two real strengths that I can bring to our work with data on the data team is the curiosity and inquiry piece, as well as the communication and consultation part. Now, I'm a communication studies professor. This is what I do. So that seemed like a nice fit. And once I'm able to understand the data, I'll probe. I'll ask Tim, I'll ask Mel over and over in different ways. Tell me what this means. Help me understand it. Once I've got it, I can help design a communication plan to move forward.
Do you mind if I ask the group kind of what's appealing to them?
Yes, and we're gonna get to that. That's what the whole exercise is about. Is where do you fit on all of these? And what appeals? No, we're definitely going to get there.
Awesome.
But I've also been able to hit that curiosity and inquiry. So when this headline came along, and it was clear that colleges and universities across the country are going to see declines in success rates, pass rates in Gateway College math, I asked Mel, can we correct for this, right? If our goal is to increase our college, our success rate, our pass rate in Gateway Math by X%, but we know there's going to be a national decline by Y%, is there some statistical method where we can say, we may not have increased by our goal of X%, but we offset the national decrease by X%. Can we claim that as a victory, that we've done it actually, because we pushed against the national trend? So I can think about those questions and put those forward. And that's what makes these frameworks so interesting. So the highlights of each of these frameworks, I just want to walk you through them. And then what we'll do is get to that exercise where we take a look at your framework, your data identity. Curiosity and inquiry is about finding clarity with the issues, questions about what if So the three early momentum metrics that we're really focused on through this now retention ATD work has to do with gateway math, gateway English, and the completion of 24 credits in the first year. We weren't sure about that, what the credit momentum metric was going to be. And we started asking about things like, well, if 6 of the first 12 credits or first 15 credits are gateway math and gateway English, and we're monitoring those and we're doing some treatment on those, how do we know if our other work on retention and credit completion metrics is effective, or if it's just the result of effective treatment in the math and English courses? And that's what led us to a bigger context of 24 credits. I hope that was clear. Did I mumble that up for anybody? The scientists got it, I'm sure of that.
Okay.
The data folks got it. Okay, we're all data people. What about the historical context? Where are, and the stakeholders, right? We have people coming from a wide variety, students are coming from a wide variety of education backgrounds themselves. We have some better high schools, we have some lower performing high schools. I'm always surprised at the number of homeschooled students that I have every semester. How do we contextualize these different learning styles and the different stakeholders that are involved? The research and analysis side of it. What are the right methodologies? Who has the technical expertise to recognize what data we even need to be looking at? How is that integrated and who can do the computation? And again, this is way outside of my wheelhouse, but I'm on a team with people like Mel, like Tim, who really can bring that to the table and help inform me and my questions. The communication and consultation. How do you deliver this? You've all been checking your dashboards daily. I know you have. We all check our dashboards every day, at least once a day. And we can ask, is the information being delivered to us in a way that makes sense on those dashboards? How do we talk about the dashboards? How do we encourage faculty and staff to use the dashboards that are designed in a way that will help them to make decisions? And of course, interpretation. What does this mean? How do we interpret this? And what it means for a communication professor, a public speaking professor, may be very different to what it means for a geology professor. So we want to account for the different constituencies and audiences that we're speaking to. The campus context, student information, the program initiatives that we have. Where does this fit into the strategic plan? Where does it fit within the campus mission? Some of us don't feel particularly drawn to a lot of embedding ourselves in the campus context. We may be a little more reclusive, a little more introverted, and we don't interact with the broader campus as much, and that's fine. But then there are others who put themselves in different places, and we see them regularly interacting around campus. They can help with these questions. And then that industry context. Personally, I'm probably better with industry context than campus context. I'm a news junkie. I really love keeping up on headlines, what's going on in the bigger picture in higher education. what's going on in my discipline more broadly, trying to follow those bigger student trends, employment opportunities, and so on. And then lastly is the strategy and planning piece. How do we align various roles? What kind of projects are going on? The issue of resource allocation. The data can do a lot to inform how we can allocate our resources, where we need to reallocate some resources. Advising and student support services is doing some really great work tied to these retention goals, and we've made some changes to how resources are allocated. You may have noticed the new position for the Dean of Library and Student Support Services. That is a direct result, bringing student support services, Math Central, the Writing Studio, other tutoring services, bringing all of that into the context of the library under one dean, a dean level position. That directly came out of this ATD work, reallocating those resources, aligning the role to better serve our students and promote those momentum metrics. So before I get going with the exercise, are there any questions? Any questions about what I've covered so far?
Or I would say too, if you have any just impressions of
Comments,
what you've
yes,
seen so far. I'd
thoughts.
love to have a little bit of discussion with those of you that are on Zoom. So thoughts so far. Thank you, Kara. Kara is saying that she loves how the book builds on our strengths. Absolutely. I commented that I love that this gives you that opportunity to say, ooh, this is my expertise, I can lean in there.
Yep.
But also, I might be able to grow in this direction.
There are areas where I can grow. I think campus context was one for me that I saw an opportunity there. And I became, thank you, Lynn, that's excellent. She shared the link to the book in the library. As well as, my strengths and the teamwork piece. I saw somebody had, yes. The focus on teamwork is really a wonderful part of this. Because it means that I've got something to offer and I can shore up those weaknesses by relying on the strengths from my colleagues.
Yes, yeah, we're getting lots of sort of piggybacking on this idea of teamwork. And again, the idea that coming from those different perspectives makes it work for all of us.
The collaborative side of it is also very appealing. I like how, frankly, I probably shouldn't say this on a recording. I am one of those faculty who doesn't always love it when outside consultants show up, seeing as I work at an institution full of experts. And I like the idea that we're pooling on our own, we're pooling our own expertise and we're pulling on our own expertise to move the institution forward.
We're telling our own story.
Exactly, and we're coming from it can often be helpful to have an outside point of view as well. I don't mean to suggest that, but no one knows our students better than we do. And to be able to use our strengths to help them in these other ways is really wonderful. So Parnell put together, were there any other thoughts or questions before I move ahead?
I think we captured what was in the chat.
Okay. Parnell designed this exercise, and it was doing this exercise that I'm going to share with you that All right, so going into it, I had some hunches about where I fit, and yeah, it was confirmed. But it was doing this exercise that really did confirm I have a place on the data team. I have a strength to bring to data that can help my colleagues at Reynolds, and I want to talk you through the exercise. We probably have enough time. I know there's about what 7 or 8 pages of information, but we can probably take a good, let's say 10, 15 minutes even to go through. And so the directions on the back of this worksheet are a little sketchy, but I'll talk you through it. What you see on the slide is sort of this pie chart breaking out what is your data identity, your data personality, as well as how do you feel you fit. Where do you feel you fit in terms of your relationship to, say, the campus context, or performing research and analyses, or strategies and planning? Is this something that's just, you have just emerging sort of minimal knowledge about and a minimal understanding? Is it something that you're working on and you're learning more? You'd say maybe you're an intermediate. When I talk to Chef Jesse, I describe myself as a sort of an advanced intermediate home cook. Where do you fit there? Or is this a real strength of yours? You have a lot of confidence in your abilities. And so what you can do is with there were just the chapters that were printed out in chapter 7, pages 81 through 87, so 6 pages there, is a series of tables in chapter 7, and it is the data identity self-assessment. So the first table is about curiosity and inquiry. And Parnell goes through some of the subcomponent areas and gives you some ideas about what emerging ability might look like in relation to this. So issue clarity, identifying a problem that needs to be addressed. Can you recognize a change in a campus trend? Do you have a developing ability where you can determine the scope and scale of an issue? Something that may be hitting other areas of the campus as well? Or do you have a strong ability to articulate an issue? How might it impact us if it goes unaddressed? That would come in as a strong ability under issue clarity. And so what you can do is to go through these tables, pages 81 again through 87, and then when you feel yourself, you have a mark for each of the sort of subcategories. So when emerging, again, these directions are a little shady. Just put a little hash mark, whether it's an emerging strength, a developing strength, or something you really have a lot of confidence in, and you feel strong about. And what you're looking for at the end is which of the components do you have more hash marks in the strong categories? And really, you're after maybe just 1 to 3 of these. I nailed down 2. you're not trying to necessarily say I'm strong in all of these, but what are the real strengths that you bring to data?
So David, I just wanted to stop and interrupt for 1 second. The data tables that David is referring to were linked in this morning's email from CETL. That was an invitation to the session. I've also dropped those 2 links in the chat so you can find those. So the first link was the self-assessment sheet. So the self-assessment sheet, if you take a look at it, it's essentially going to be a spreadsheet, if you will, that has, David is showing it in his window on Zoom right now. It has all of the different data framework categories, and then you can basically indicate that. And then the other was for the sort of criteria for each of those frames. Now, these were actually put on Canvas, and I'm seeing that maybe I want to know about accessibility. Is anyone having trouble accessing those files? Okay. I see at least one person in there, so I will see what I can do about downloading them and then just uploading it as a straight up PDF here in just a second. So you've got that too. I'm wondering, it looks like they were put on Canvas by our CETL personnel, so that might be some of the issues, is just the levels of permissions there. But I'll get the PDFs in the chat in just a second.
Let me hop back in and I can at least put this table up.
Yeah, you could show those
for
as
you.
you're talking. That'd be great.
Does that help? And as everybody, are you able to access the ebook, if not the PDF of the chapters?
Yeah, those 2 are what I'm trying to get to folks here.
Because I think, was it Lynn put the link to the ebook into the chat a little earlier. And that will get us to, it may be that we can't all access the book at once.
Yeah, I'm getting them ready to go here. Just gotta get them downloaded on my end. Thank you for your patience. So the question, David, is would you like people to be sort of walking through these now, or do you want, maybe we walk through one of them together?
Let's walk through one of them. And maybe we'll do campus context. That might be a more interesting choice than say communication or something, because it's a piece that I'm not particularly strong with. It's one of my developing areas. So this was page 84 once you're able to get to it. And when we back to sharing that. The subcomponents of the campus context, I'll read them off and give you the examples of emerging ability, developing ability, or strong ability. And you decide based on this, right? There's 4 subcomponents. For each of the subcomponents, put a little hash mark on whether you fit the description of an emerging ability, a developing ability, or a strong ability. For the first subcomponent is student information, and she describes the skill as understanding various characteristics of the campus student population and their progress. As an emerging ability, this might look like the ability to review campus fact books or other reports containing information about student outcomes. So you're looking at the dashboard and you're seeing the information. As a developing ability, you might find that you engage with students who have differing backgrounds and learn more about their campus experiences. What is it like for these different student populations as they come to our campus? And as a strong ability, Parnell would say you have the ability to prepare written or verbal synthesis of various student issues over multiple years. So you've seen changes in student populations, trends in student outcomes, and you can synthesize that information. So which of those three descriptions best fits your, again, this is where I think relationship to data is the better strength, where you relate to student information. The next subcomponent area is programs and initiatives. Knowing how various campus activities are organized and operated. Do you support activities conducted primarily by one office or unit on campus? Right? Just your school or just through your particular office? Or do you engage more broadly across the campus? So an emerging ability would be just supporting activities conducted by one office or unit on campus. A developing ability might be participating in campus activities in collaboration with colleagues from multiple departments or initiatives. Say you might want to volunteer by contacting CEDL to offer a lunch and learn. That might be an example of a developing ability. And then a strong ability, leading institution-wide activities. In some instances, managing relationships even with external off-campus partners. Taking maybe a fellowship role in CEDL, for example. Karen.
Absolutely.
That would be a strong ability. Subcomponent number 3, strategic planning. Understanding the most immediate campus priorities. An emerging ability in this area might be to connect individual job responsibilities to specific objectives in the campus strategic plan. Provide an excellent education to our students. I can connect my role as a faculty member to that area. A developing ability in this subcomponent would be to align an office or department, work plans with the strategic plan. So I'm thinking about when I was a program head and we were redesigning my program, how does that fit more broadly? I know when we went to the curriculum committee, it was important to be able to align these changes or explain these changes in terms of how they aligned with the strategic plan. And a strong ability, managing activities that contribute to the institution's accreditation and financial stability. I also know that I struggled a lot with various reporting issues. Tim will tell you I was terrible at that in my role as a program head. And then the last subcomponent was the campus mission. What I should be sharing at this point is what this table looks like. I'm not going to be able to find it quickly enough, but that's okay.
Do you want me to put it in the chat again, the other one?
The other one, yeah. I'm thinking they could look at these tables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what okay.
And the last one, the campus mission. The skill of working on projects that address the primary purpose for which the institution operates. So an emerging ability, identify how your own individual work addresses student needs and progress. Go ahead.
Tim had a question for you in
Yes.
the chat.
Yes.
It was asking you, Tim, do you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question?
Well, David, I was just curious to draw on your communication expertise, and as a faculty member, I know you think well of these, but as you look at the identity awareness component on communication and consultation, do those ring true? I don't mean to pick on the instrument necessarily, but do those, when you evaluate in your faculty role, what you think student demonstration of effective communication and consultation is, do those dimensions, those areas and abilities, do those seem to ring true for you? Do you tend to agree with how they or she, if it was Amelia's, broke out those components into that way to measure them?
It is not inconsistent with the recommended rubrics that we pull from the field. The National Communication Association has rubrics and assignments available, models that we use, and it's consistent. It's maybe a little simplified, to fit into a 4-column and 4-row by 4-row table, but yeah, I would say it's a reasonable rubric. That's a little overly simplified. But once you're talking about, I think when we're talking about the level of professionals as opposed to students, we understand the nuances in these tables as well. So I would trust, Dr. Vines to look at this table and sort of be able to parse out the fine line between maybe a developing ability and a strong ability in one of these subcategories. I might not trust a student to have enough experience with public speaking, either as a speaker or even observing other speakers, to see those nuances. But when we attend professional conferences and we see presentations regularly, we begin to see what works and what doesn't.
So can I throw the question back to Tim or perhaps Kara or Mel for some of the criteria that are listed for some of these other categories? So like for strategic or strategy and planning or research and analysis, do these seem like appropriate descriptors or metrics to help you determine these?
Yeah, I'll start and then maybe let Kara and Mel weigh in if they want. I asked because, we've been talking about rubric lately, right, Karen, and how to put components into a box to help us evaluate people's strengths or skills or areas to focus on. And like you, David, I felt like these were a sufficient way to begin measuring things, right? Sort of like you indicated at kind of a base level, but for professionals who have experience in these areas, who have done this work previously. So the first time I completed this was over a year ago at an ATD event, and it somewhat rang true for me and surprised me in other areas. I ended up being stronger in communication than I thought, realizing that that's more of an important thing for me, I guess, how we communicate and what, and with research and with planning as well. But it was fun to do the self-assessment, and I agree, David, that it was informative at sort of a base level, and I found it to be interesting and intriguing as a as a measurement, maybe not the only, but as a decent way.
Let me just say, Tim, that I'm not surprised to hear that communication was a strength for you. Mel, do you want to weigh in on this?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think the rubric works. I think it's clear, it's straightforward. We don't need to make it overly complex. I also observed the first time I saw the rubric in action, we had about 8 or 10 people at the table, each assessing themselves, is that it immediately and very effectively broke this myth that you need to be like a computer science programmer person to be a data person. And that's important to understand and get away from, because we all engage with data in a variety of ways from our different positions of strength. From the position of strength of being able to communicate, what does that data mean? David, you do that all the time in our group. You'll rephrase something we've said in a way that makes a lot more sense. Being able to know the campus context for why a number went up or down. Why did that change maybe happen? What could be the reasons going on? Without that campus context, we have no idea. So it's important to understand that we all have roles, very, very important roles with our specific skills that bring context and meaning and value from what the technical people might get out of just pulling the data out of a system and then presenting it in a way for our use.
Kara, did you want to add something?
No, I think that Tim and Mel provide great perspective. And I'm just want to thank you and thank CETL for spreading the word about this particular assessment, because like, some others that are out there about more like personalities and Strengths Finder and True Colors and Myers-Briggs and that kind of thing, I think it's something that we can relate to, and drops the language down a notch, and also allows us to begin using a common language. So thank you all for bringing this to a broader audience through this session.
It really does make the idea of working with data much more accessible for those of us who don't find a strong ability with the math and the statistics, but that we don't have to just sit out and I'm just going to leave it to Mel and Tim to sort out the data and the problems and make it work. No, I have something I can contribute, and I don't have to feel, first of all, this helps Tim to see, perhaps, or Mel to see, that the guy over in the humanities has something to offer the conversation. Not that they didn't know that. But they're able to see that I can bring something to the table. I can see that I can bring something to the table. And it makes it accessible, and it encourages me to want to participate a little more, which, again, I think the thing I love the most is that I get to work with my colleagues on solving some of the campus problems, rather than leaving it to others to hire outside consultants to come in and try to solve those problems. That's got tremendous appeal to me, because we're bright folks. We really are. We get to own it a little more, and I think this is the accessibility of this book and these ideas are really a big appeal. I know we're closing in on the end here. I want to take questions if there are any last questions or comments. And I don't want to forget that while we're here, This is part of a series on data literacy. The further we go with this retention and achieving the dream work, the more all of this data literacy and all of the data is going to impact us. We're all expected to be interacting with those dashboards on a regular basis, and it's going to become even more important as we go. Tim, you threw me off. I've got my picture with Patrick Stewart. I can show you later. But this is going to begin to impact us more and more. Sunita Luther is going to be conducting the next part of the data literacy series, Just Ask Your Students. And this one is, I've seen a preview. It's really quite phenomenal. I think Sunita's really got a good angle on this, that we can just ask our students the questions, simple questions like, what are you struggling with here? How could this be more clear? How do you prefer to interface with the class? So I'd like to encourage you to continue to attend the data literacy series. Each step is going to get a little more sophisticated, a little more, it's going to bring a different angle. And my role really was to introduce you to the role of data at Reynolds and your role in addressing that data and relating to it. And yes, Otelia, everybody should have access to the dashboards now. If you don't, Mel can help. Mel, do you want people who are not sure how to access the dashboards?
Yeah.
You want them to email you or?
Yeah, email's fine. Email's fine. Let's just start with the email and we'll figure out what the issue is and then we'll take steps from there. But yeah, just start by reaching out to me so I can get a conversation going. I'm gonna drop my email in the chat and my name. Hopefully y'all have sort of heard of me. I'm Melanie Boynton. I'm the Director of Institutional Research, and we want to help you in whatever way you need. So whether it's getting access, a little training session to teach you how to use the dashboard, whatever you need, please contact us so we can help you feel comfortable with the resources we've developed.
And Mel, aren't there several of the dashboards are available to the whole college community just by looking at that one spot on the intranet? But if you want to do a deeper dive, talk to you.
Yeah, for sure. I'll drop a link for those. There's 4 that are open to the entire campus, no login required. And then there's some outside of that you do need a login for because they have more sensitive data in them. So that's just a security precaution. So I will drop that in the chat as well. We also have videos on how to use the dashboard. Some people like those. They'd rather watch a video than schedule an appointment. That's fine too. I will drop those links here in the chat for you.
And I want to add one other thing, Mel, that I again, working with you on the team I feel like I can say this. If there's other information that's not on the dashboards, aside from the fact that it can be pulled by, a ticket, we're always looking to make these dashboards better. And Mel really does value the feedback about what is missing, what else do you need, or how could this be refined to make it more useful to you? So it's not just about getting to those dashboards and looking at them, but please provide us with feedback about them so that we can continue to improve. I've seen these dashboards evolve in the year or so that I've been on the team, and Mel, you're doing great work doing that.
For sure. Thank you. We have a wonderful team. Yeah, for sure. We have a wonderful institutional research team. Min Hyun, Devorah Cortland, Amy Roberts, Nat Wooding, Todd Waldo. They all work really hard to support everyone. And to David's point, there's pretty much not a single thing in the dashboard that wasn't the idea of a faculty or staff member. So we need you guys to give us the ideas so we can make the dashboards really helpful for you for the work. So we're not dreaming this up on our own. These ideas are coming from you all.
Because I know my friend Dr. Vines has opinions, and I love her opinions, but I want her to know we want her opinions in terms of the dashboards, so she can help us make them better. This is one of those opportunities, Otelia.
All right, well, thank you so much, David. I'm gonna drop in the chat one more time a link today. I appreciate you all for attending. I've put in a link to a evaluation form that we would like you to fill out for this session. We'll probably also push out an email on this as well. So if you do it now, thank you so much. But if you do it later too, that would be appreciated. This just helps us inform how we continue to improve this data literacy series moving forward. And again, check out the CETL website for more information on all kinds of good PD coming towards you. Thanks so much.